I know the identity of the leader of the Aces and Eights. He's a no-talent little shit stain on the underwear of humanity who makes YouTube videos because he can't think of anything constructive to do with his time. One by one, I've turned his viewers and Twitter followers against him. I've swayed public opinion in my favor, and nothing, not Hurricane Sandy, not a pathetic #innocent campaign, not even a laughably pretentious voiceover that feels completely out of place in this video will stop me until he is proven guilty. Okay. Well, I'm back up and running now that Hurricane Sandy has passed. I hope all my subscribers are safe and doing well. And personally, I was pretty lucky. Only lost power for 3 days, which is a walk in the park compared to the 8 days the last time this happened. But still, for someone who practically lives on the internet and likes to shower twice a day, 3 days without utilities, not fun. Bear in mind, though, I got off real easy. Sandy pretty much had her way with New York and New Jersey. My sympathies to anyone stuck in that situation. So, while they try to dig themselves out of that hole, I'll try to take people's minds off their problems and talk about wrestling for a little bit. The show begins with Joseph Park in the ring. Awesome. Now, he reminds us that he's a lawyer, even though he never actually acts like one, and he talks about all the laws that the Aces and Eights broke when they took him hostage. And instead of actually doing what a lawyer would do and press charges against them and, oh, I don't know, maybe call the police, he decides that he'd rather take advantage of the rules of open fight night and challenge one of these guys to a match. And why? Because Joseph Park is a man, goddammit! And real men don't care about silly things like getting the law involved when there are beatings and assaults and hostage situations to deal with.
This whole show is ridiculous!
So he challenges one of them, but a whole bunch of them show up, but then Kurt Angle and Sting come out to run them off. Great performance here. I absolutely love the Joseph Park character. This has to be one of my favorite new wrestling characters in a long time. I mean, there are so many little nuances he throws in there, like being out of breath and looking all nervous and fidgety and stuff. I mean, if he had a different voice, you wouldn't be able to tell it's the same guy who plays Abyss. It's a complete departure, and I've been really impressed with Chris Park's acting since he started this. Here's the problem with the segment, though. Kurt Angle getting assaulted by the Aces and Eights is what last week's show faded out on. And now here he is this week, perfectly fine and ready for a fight. So, right there, you just told us that when the Aces and Eights beat the crap out of someone, it doesn't mean anything because they'll be fine by the following Thursday. And these are the guys that we're supposed to be afraid of. These are the guys that are supposed to look dangerous. Well, they look anything but dangerous when this happens, or when they get run off by 2 men even though they have a big numbers advantage. If you want these guys to be threatening, then when they beat someone up, I don't care who it is, that person needs to be gone for a while. And you can't have a whole group of them run like little girls from a 50-year-old Sting. I don't give a shit if he has a baseball bat. There's like 5 of you and 1 of him. I'm pretty sure you can take him. So the de-balling of the Aces and Eights continues, and Sting promises that one of them will be unmasked before the night is over. Good. It's about damn time TNA stopped dragging their feet on that. Hey, here's a nice surprise. Apparently the Samoa Joe Magnus feud is not finished after all. Who knew? Yes! After being absent from TV for several weeks, Magnus comes out and challenges Samoa Joe to a title match, because a guy like Samoa Joe representing TNA as the TV champion, that's something that Magnus has a problem with. And that's an interesting angle to play off of, actually. You know, Samoa Joe has always been sort of an unconventional-looking wrestler, while Magnus does have that more traditional photogenic look to him. And there's stuff you can do with that. You know, there's a way to use that to inject more character into this, so I like that approach. Match is pretty short. Magnus hits Joe with a wrench and causes a DQ. I was fine with it not getting much time because this was more about progressing the story. Plus, they already had a longer match at Bound for Glory, and you don't want to burn the fans out on seeing these two wrestle each other. And WWE has that problem with a lot of feuds right now. I thought this was perfect, actually. And I said Magnus needed to be built up before he could be a credible TV title contender, and there was some movement on that here. He didn't beat Joe, but he proved that he could hurt Joe, and that's a start. And that's the most vulnerable Joe has looked since he won the title. It set up their no DQ match at Turning Point, and Magnus got a lot of heat for it. So, well done on this segment. It's just a shame that the build-up in this feud happens so infrequently. You know, there was no reason to keep Magnus off the show the last 2 weeks. No reason. I want to see more stuff like this. And it needs to happen every week from now until Turning Point. Daniels and Kaz come out for a promo. This is becoming one of the highlights of the show every week. They're hyping up their tag title rematch at the pay-per-view, and they issue a challenge to those two no-good Mexicans, the Spanish announce team. Oh my God. Only Kaz and Daniels, and maybe Austin Aries too, could have pulled this off, and I was cracking up. So they're beating up Hector Guerrero and Willie Urbina. And eventually, Dos Stereotypicos come out to make a save, and the heels just slither away. And this was probably better than it had any right to be. I mean, Christopher Daniels is a freaking riot, and this is easily the most entertaining Kaz has ever been. I mean, they are walking a pretty fine line here with the Mexican stuff. It hasn't gotten racist yet, but it might if they're not careful, so they need to kind of tread lightly there. But not to say it isn't working so far. I mean, the heels have plenty of heat. Not that they need more heat at this point, let's be honest. The faces are the ones having trouble getting over. So, in that capacity, it's doing what it needs to do. At least for the heels. This month's gut check contestant was Christian York, and I don't have a lot to say here. You know, he looked solid in the ring. The match was good. My thing is, though, I thought gut check was for younger, up-and-coming talent. York is a 16-year veteran, and he's competed in TNA before, so I don't see why this was really necessary. I figured a dark match would have been fine for someone like him. Reaction to him seems to be largely positive, so if they sign him, I won't take an issue with it. I mean, he could work as a power-based guy in the X Division in contrast to the High Flyers. Of course, they don't use most of the X Division guys they already have. I mean, if they don't want to use a star like Kenny King, then I don't know how much mileage they get out of Christian York, but he did well here, so we'll see. Then ODB challenged Jesse Godderz.
Destination? Horror.
The match was a complete joke, as we all knew it would be. It was the only thing they could do, really. I mean, Godderz can't attack ODB directly, so they have to find ways to work around that. And he did ultimately win the match, but by that point it really didn't matter. I mean, ODB got so much offense, and he only won with Tara's help, so he looked like a total chump either way. Now, with ODB in there to glom heat off of, he did at least get a reaction this time, and it should be the same deal with Eric Young. But for his sake, I really hope Godderz can bring something to the table in the future to compensate for his obvious lack of wrestling ability. Right now, it's too soon to tell if that'll happen. Oh, God help me. Robbie E. and Rob Terry come out. Ha-ha! Robbie challenges Jeff Hardy, and he likens the odds of him beating Hardy in a match to lightning striking twice. An apt metaphor if ever I heard one, though that's probably not what he was going for. Apparently Austin Aries put Robbie up to this as a way of softening up Jeff Hardy or something. I'm not sure. It was never really explained. And I'm sorry, but that idea is so laughable, not even Austin Aries can make it work. You have Aries go to this loser, who has probably one of the most laugh-out-loud embarrassing win-loss records in the history of this company, and sick him on Jeff Hardy? How the hell are we even supposed to take that seriously? What's even more ridiculous is that they actually gave this match a few minutes.
This whole show violates every everything about my journalistic integrity.
The match is nothing. Robbie just does the same boring crap he always does. Hardy fights through Rob Terry's interference and wins, not nearly quickly enough. Then Aries comes out, and no mention is made of him enlisting those two idiots, so I don't know what the point of that was. So Aries and Hardy talk for a minute, and now they're going to have a ladder match at Turning Point. And that makes sense. They haven't done a ladder match in a while, so that'll be good to probably cap the feud off. What was sad about this, though, is that so far, Hardy has made no effort, zero effort, to get the world title belt back from Aries. It doesn't even seem to bother him that Aries took it. He's got his ugly-ass custom belt, and that's all he cares about. Look, the custom belt is a novelty. Something made to sell replica toy belts to little kids. It's not something that's meant to be taken seriously. But the real World Championship belt is on Austin Aries' shoulder, and Hardy doesn't even give a shit. And this is the guy that I'm supposed to root for? The guy that I'm supposed to cheer when the heel respects the championship more than he does? Fuck you, Jeff Hardy. Bobby Roode cuts a promo about how he should be the #1 contender for the world title. AJ Styles comes out and says the same. And he even made a crack about the AJ Lee John Cena thing on Raw. And I think he'd earned the right to do that. I mean, good God. Of all the storylines WWE could have taken a page from, they had to pick that one.
You people are fools!
Then Hogan comes out with James Storm and makes a triple threat match at the pay-per-view for the #1 contendership. But the bitch of it is that the person who gets pinned in that match won't be able to get a world title shot until Bound for Glory next year. Honestly, not a great segment. Roode was fine, but AJ seemed to be having an off night on the microphone, as was Hogan. And the stipulation with the loser, I don't know where the hell that even came from or why Hogan booked it, but you'd think something like that would have some pretty big implications, right? Only it didn't come off that way. It didn't seem like a big deal. It didn't seem like they were raising the stakes of the match at all, probably because Hogan just randomly pulled the stipulation out of his ass for no apparent reason. Seriously, where did this stipulation come from? What was it motivated by? Why does James Storm, who won his match at Bound for Glory, have to beat two guys who lost at Bound for Glory to become the #1 contender? I don't fucking know. They didn't bother to explain any of this. I'm sure it'll be a great match, but you can't just book something like this completely off the cuff without rationalizing it first.
I was a war correspondent, and now I'm covering this!
Matt Morgan and Joey Ryan cut a promo. Morgan has some memorabilia that he stole from some shop Hogan opened just to be a dick, and he says that he's going to chew up the whole roster and shit him out until he gets to the world title. Okay, here's the deal with Morgan. He's made claims like this before, and for one reason or another it's never worked out. He's at a point now where he needs to shit or get off the pot, or rather TNA do. Either pull the trigger on Morgan and give him a world title reign, or just admit that you don't think he has what it takes, make him a permanent mid-carder, and have him just stop talking about being a world champion all the time. Because you can't keep doing this to him. You can't keep doing that start and stop thing where you push him so far and then pull him back. Yeah, that goes on too long, and people just aren't going to buy the idea of Morgan as a main eventer anymore. I mean, hell, there's a good chunk of people who don't buy it now. I think they may be onto something with this feud with him and Hogan. I've been liking it so far, but they need to follow through on it this time. Don't book Morgan like shit just to protect someone else. Just let him plow through people for a while and see how the fans react. If it gets over, then maybe think about giving him at least a short world title reign just to try him out in that spot. If it works, great. If it doesn't, you take the title off him, you put it on James Storm or someone like that. But it needs to happen relatively soon. Something big needs to happen with Matt Morgan in 2013, or I'm just going to throw in the towel and call his TNA career a bust. Then Joey Ryan challenges Bob Van Dam, even though he makes it a point to avoid VDs. That was a great line. So Van Dam beats up Ryan for like 90 seconds, then Morgan gets involved and Ryan gets the cheap pin. So Van Dam was willing to put Ryan over that much, thankfully. And really, I think the sooner Ryan wins the X Division title, the better. At least he's an interesting character that TNA seem to be behind, whereas Van Dam is just spinning his wheels these days. So put it on Ryan by final resolution at the latest and see what he can do with it. Dare I say it, maybe a feud with Kenny King.
Yes! 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 Yes!
Bully Ray versus Devon never really gets started. The Aces and Eights get involved, the roster gets involved, there's another huge-ass brawl, because we haven't seen enough of those yet, apparently. Eventually, Joseph Park winds up in the ring with one of them, and he gets put through a table. But first he manages to pull the guy's mask off, and it's Festus. Or Luke Gallows, if you honestly care. And it didn't sound like the live audience really did, but whatever. Okay, they're starting to unmask these guys finally. Good. It should have happened weeks ago, but good. That's a step in the right direction. But the issue they're going to have now is that they've built this up for so long that unless they've got some big name talents to be a part of this, which by all accounts they really don't, then no matter who it is, it's going to be underwhelming. ZOMG! It's that guy who looks like Steve Austin's retarded cousin who was CM Punk's sidekick in the Straight Edge Society. Oh shit! The TNA roster is fucked 6 ways from Sunday now! Be honest. Do you really care about Luke Gallows? Do you? I never saw what was so great about this guy. He might prove me wrong, he might not. I don't know yet. Sure hope he does. But if this was the best reveal they had in their pocket, then this should have been done way sooner. But hey, it's one less mask we have to deal with, so they're moving in the right direction now. If Gallows is going to get over, he'll have a much better chance without the mask. Hopefully they won't drag their feet on revealing the rest of them, and that'll happen in the near future. Then they can just reveal who the president is, and we can finally put this thing to bed. I don't know if the Aces and Eights storyline can be salvaged at this point, but at least something is happening. There was some progression this week, and that's a start. And that's all I got for this week. See you next time. Oh, here's my phone! Oh my god, I've been looking for this all week! Was it here the whole time? I can't believe I didn't see it! What a load off! Well, that was driving me nuts. Man, I got a lot of calls to make now. Jeez. He doesn't suspect my treachery. And why would he? He's an idiot. And now I'm one step closer to exposing him for the fraud that he is. The leader of the Aces and Eights can't hide in the shadows much longer. Soon, everyone will know the truth. And when they do, all the people will revere me as a god among men, and the pretenders will drop to their knees and kiss my feet.